Hey everybody, welcome to another comic book review. In this video, I'll be talking about the second compendium of Brian K. Vaughan and Pia Guerra's Y: The Last Man. This volume collects issues 32 through 60 of the series, so it's the entire back half of the series. So in this volume, you do get to find out what caused the plague and how to cure it, and you're kind of along with Dr. Mann and Yorick Brown and Agent 355, the three main characters, as they get closer and closer to discovering the cause of the plague and how to prevent it. And also, of course, reuniting Yorick with his long-lost fiancée, Beth. So there's a whole thing right off at the start where they're traveling by boat. The three main characters are traveling by boat in order to get to Japan to meet up with Dr. Mann's mother, who may have some clues for figuring out a cure for the plague and how to repopulate the earth with men. So it's kind of a lot of the same stuff that we got in the first volume, the first compendium, which was like 31 issues. So it's a lot of the same thing that we got in the first 31 issues. But it also never stops being interesting. It keeps up the freshness. It keeps up the fun that the first 31 issues had. It just gives you more of that. There are a bunch of new characters in this back half of the series. Revelations are made, things are discovered, and backstories of certain characters are revealed that prove very fascinating. You learn about Alter, the leader of the Israeli army. You learn about 355 and her backstory. You learn about Allison Mann and her backstory. And you get individual moments with each of these characters. And at the end of the series, which is kind of heartbreaking, but it's bittersweet. It's a nice ending. I'm not going to spoil anything, of course, but by the time the book ended, I realized how much I cared about these characters. Is this my favorite comic of all time, or even like in the top 10? Probably not, but is it still a great adventure? Is it still a really smoothly done political thriller? Is it still a great sci-fi story? Yes, yes, and yes. And above all, this is also a survival story as well. Yes, it has sci-fi elements. Yes, it has elements of political thrillers. Yes, it has social commentary. And it has comedy. It has some really funny parts. It's really witty. But above all, this is a survival story. Sort of in the tradition of the Walking Dead comics and Sweet Tooth by Jeff Lemire. Those are two things that this entire series reminded me a whole lot of. Particularly Sweet Tooth, because you get like the characters kind of trekking across the globe, and like there is a plague in Sweet Tooth that they're trying to figure out what caused it. There's a plague in this one. So this has a lot of similarities to Sweet Tooth. And I also compared it to The Walking Dead because you get that survival kind of element where it's a bunch of characters trekking across the globe and kind of seeing the places they go, the people they meet, the danger that they get into, and how they survive that danger or how some of them don't survive it. So yeah, this provided a very satisfying conclusion, I thought. It didn't bring me to tears, but there were a significant amount of moments that had me going, oh my gosh, like there's some heavy stuff in this one. And that is a testament to Brian K. Vaughan as a writer. He really carries this series in terms of his writing. He gets you to care about all of the characters, and Pia Guerra's art is also very, very beautiful to look at. The coloring is simple, but engaging enough, like it pulls you in because it's bright, but it's like it's simple enough that it kind of maintains it has a feel of simplicity, but it also pulls you in because it's bright enough, it's vibrant enough, but it also maintains a sense of realism as well. So that's one thing I really appreciated about it. And yeah, as far as, like I said, as far as comics go, is it one of my all-time favorites? No, but I had a great time reading it nonetheless. I think it's a very good comic. I think it's one that people should read. I do think it is a tad overhyped, just because a lot of the reviews that I had seen for this over the years, people consider this this is one of the most acclaimed comics of all time. Especially DC Comics and Vertigo before they turned to DC Black Label. This was one of like their flagship titles, along with Preacher and Sandman and Swamp Thing. This was one of those ones that kind of made Vertigo Comics rise to popularity, and it kind of showcased how comics could be more targeted for adults and still have like a sense of actual like literature to it. Like it felt like real literature. This was one of those comics that sort of contributed to comics being widely accepted as a form of literature and art. So it's not one of my favorites, but I cannot deny the impact that it has had on the medium of comics, and the things that it has done for comics that have kind of improved the art form over the years. So those are my thoughts on Y: The Last Man, the second half of the series, and just overall, would I recommend the series in its entirety? Yeah, I would. I think it's a good read. I think if you like books like Sweet Tooth or The Walking Dead, or you like sci-fi stories that are funny and adventurous and also have their fair share of moments that really tug at the heartstrings, I think this will be up your alley. And I kind of breezed through it real quickly. It's only 60 issues, so it's not a huge series, but it's still one that if you pace it out, if you make it last, read only a couple issues a day, you could make it last as long as you want to. But the one thing about this is it is very addictive because you are constantly trying to find out what is going to happen to these characters. So this is one of those ones that kept me wanting to read it. So I went through the entire 60 issues pretty fast. But those are my thoughts on Y: The Last Man. As always, thank you for watching and have a great day. Look forward to more videos in the future.